All right, we are live, and today we have Jesse. You are
You are
watching
watching
NSTV. All right, Jesse, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Prashant?
Perfect. Camera is set up, and you have picked some tweets today for us. I have picked a couple more tweets, and let's go through them. All right, so here's the first one.
Ooh,
Tell
yeah.
us more.
US and China GDP. So this one picked my eye because I think there's this narrative that China is surpassing the US, and it basically says that that's not the case. The Chinese growth, GDP growth, is stalling, and the US is continuing to grow. So it's diverging again. I found this interesting because I'm going to China in like
That's right.
in a week
That's
and
right.
to exactly experience the advancement of the
Yeah.
society. And I think GDP is maybe more of an American measure of the advancement of society, and maybe it doesn't accurately reflect the reality on the ground.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, what was your takeaway with this one? This is very interesting. Just yesterday, I was looking over at this one video which was talking about Shenzhen, and they were talking about these drone delivery. They have these pods everywhere in the city where you can be like, okay, I want to order my Starbucks coffee. There's a drone that comes in the pod, and then your food, your drink is in front of you. And there were a lot of these things that I was reading about it. I think one history of Shenzhen is also that it was a special economic zone. It was designated as a special economic zone. And this was one of the reasons why it attracted a lot of engineers, a lot of builders, a lot of creators, and people started building a lot. And you can see that on the streets, you can see that energy on the street. But so what was your takeaway when you look at this? Do you think that, okay, there's a difference between what you see on the ground versus what happens, like how these numbers are calculated?
Yeah, yeah. So my first impression was like, okay, that's challenging my assumption because my assumption is that China is gonna surpass the US,
Yeah.
and maybe it's about the way the growth is measured. And I think GDP might be more of a US centric measurement. So I'm not sure how accurate the one for China is because China is led by the Communist Party. So it's not that like these narratives are kind of coming bottom up. Everything is controlled top down. So
Right. Right.
I'm not sure about those narratives,
Very
whether
interesting.
that's true.
Very interesting. So this would be an interesting approach to, now that you're looking at the graph, you're looking at how people worldwide are using these equations to calculate certain numbers versus when you are in the city and you're maybe talking to people and you're seeing how they live life and are they happy or not, you can feel like, okay, this is the real thing. I did in this particular mini documentary which I saw, they were talking about like how competitive this place is and how people feel like they constantly have to be running, they're constantly in a race. Maybe that is a factor, but then you're also seeing the efficiency on the ground with, they have these surveillance robots where you have these robots just always walking around, and if they see you doing something different, that robot will actually talk to you. And I don't know how that happens, if that's like a telephone by a remote policeman who's sitting somewhere, or the robot itself is like an AI, but yeah, it's very interesting to see like how they're using technology. Yeah.
Right. And that got me thinking. So the population is declining for China, the projected population, whereas in the US, I think the fertility rate is still higher.
Okay.
And a common trend is for developed nations or that have reached a development status, that the fertility rate goes down. So this is like common in China now. But what I'm wondering is, with all the tech they have, like the robots, can they compensate the declining fertility and still achieve GDP growth? What do you think?
This is the same cycle that South Korea is going through, Japan is going through, where you have, I was reading about this pressure, which is, so what's the cycle? The cycle is fertility decreases, which means there are fewer young people, which means the older people are pressurized to keep making more money. and you have to still pay for the pension funds. You have fewer people in work joining the workforce, which means the people, the millennials, let's say, they are still stuck working and paying for the pension funds. So I think that's the kind of the cycle. There are definitely more factors and variables over here, but I think many countries are now facing this. And yeah. But China, actually, it looked like Shenzhen was pretty. The video that I saw, it's all based on this one video that I saw, because I don't usually look at how on the ground these Chinese cities look like. But this video that I saw, it seemed like Shenzhen not only has these beautiful, obviously glass towers, but also has a lot of nature. And in that video, he tried to capture a lot of families, a lot of kids, a lot of young kids, which is always really cool to see, because I've heard from some Canadian friends who have families that sometimes having babies and going into some establishments like restaurants or some hotels with a baby where the baby's crying, people kind of react in a certain way where they're not very welcoming. But in, let's say, Europe, and it seemed like in China, they are like, yeah, this is it. You are supposed to have a family, and everybody's kind of helping. They know that having a baby is hard, and babies cry, and it is not something always in a parent's control. That okay, switch, a baby's crying, like click a switch and the baby stops crying. That's not what happens. You kind of have to take care of the baby, and like the parent also needs help. So people are more embracing or empathetic to that. So yeah, it's very interesting to see that.
Yeah, and I think also on a general level, Chinese society has more traditional values like family. It's more integral to the way they see the world, whereas like in the West, we have these very individualistic views, and a lot of people decide not to start a family because they want to focus on themselves, or they have like some sort of mission they're working on where family doesn't really play a role, or at least the family in terms of having children. And I'm not sure if that's gonna be changing in China, even though it's getting more capitalistic, more Western. I think it's still so ingrained in their society, these traditional values, that this might still continue to be a thing, to be family friendly.
Very interesting. This also reminds me, I don't know if you saw this new movement. I forgot the Chinese name, but it basically means laying flat among young people.
No.
And I think this got super popular on their version of TikTok. I forgot what their version of TikTok is called.
I'm not sure, but
okay. But basically, lying flat is young people being like, okay, getting a job is hard, and they are just laying flat, which means doing nothing. And that kind of became a movement, which again comes from competition. And similar to India, they have these joint entrance examination that if you don't pass, you don't go to a good school, all your parents are pressurizing you to work hard to clear that exam. So yeah, we are seeing some side effects, or let's say some second order effects of that.
Yeah, and it's probably similar to what has happened already, like in the West, where people have achieved this material standard that they don't feel the need to strive for more or much more, and they have this meaning crisis. So they don't know what to do. Working your ass off for something that's not necessary doesn't really feel meaningful, so they're like, okay, what am I gonna do? So I'm gonna lie flat.
This is a very interesting meaning crisis, because it's like, okay, this again reminds me on the Network State book, because in the Network State book they have God. Balaji talks about God, state, and network. So it's like, first we outsource meaning to the God, like, hey, I'm following this religion, so I will outsource meaning to this religion, which means I'll follow the scriptures of this religion, and that is what gives me meaning, and that is around which I build my community, and around which I follow the rituals to keep meeting the people, and that gives me meaning. Then it's state, so you kind of outsource meaning to state, which is government. And I don't know how. Oh, maybe that could be nationality. That okay, you outsource meaning to government, to state, which means that you derive a lot of meaning from being part of this nation, and the fact that everybody is, let's say, Irish. Everybody's Irish. I love Irish culture. Around Irish rituals is where I build my community. And then finally, it's network. you outsource meaning to the network. And I think that is where it's like, I don't know if you know Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche talks about God is dead, and the idea that, okay, if God is dead, that means that nobody's giving meaning to you, which means you have to create your own meaning, which means you have to create your own values. So I think that is where network comes in. Network is about, we have all chosen, it's meritocracy. We have all chosen a certain way how we want to live, and everybody who aligns to that, that's the network you choose. So yeah, meaning crisis is something really interesting that everybody's talking about. There are some, and this is the entire conversation on post-labor economics as well, that okay, if we are moving towards an age of abundance, if we are moving towards an age where we'll have abundance of information, abundance of resources, abundance of knowledge, then how do we spend our time? Where do we derive meaning from? And I think, yeah, this is where even the economists and even the academics, they are spending a lot of time around that. UBI, I think I've bookmarked a couple of tweets on UBI. This one guy, do you know Praxis?
Yeah,
Praxis.
the project, yeah.
Yes, it's another kind of network state inspired by biology. It's run by Dryden Brown, and he's recently engaging a lot of conversation on UBI, and that's also again very interesting. Like, he's engaging around that conversation, and this is what's going to happen, because it started, I think, with Elon. Actually, maybe we can look into that if we are talking about it, because Elon recently tweeted, yeah, this is Dryden. He's talking about that, and this is Elon's tweet. Okay, universal high income. So he's not even talking about UBI, basic income. He's talking about UHI, universal high income, via checks issued by the federal government is the best way to deal with unemployment caused by AI. AI robotics will produce goods and services far in excess of the increase in the money supply, so there will not be inflation. A lot of interesting things to, lot of interesting things. This is like oversimplification, but yeah. Any thoughts on universal high income?
Wow, yeah. It's actually the first time I'm hearing high income. Like,
yeah,
I've heard, of course, UBI.
Yeah.
I'm very reluctant to believe that this is going to work, and that it's going to be the solution, and that it's also like on the path towards it. I still don't see the science for it.
When you say science, you're talking science or SIGNS or SCIENCE?
No, like the signposts, like directions.
Sign, SIGN. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So I think we will still have a lot of economic problems we need to solve that require free markets, where something like a UBI wouldn't work, because it would create distortions, market distortions, that would essentially lead to less wealth, like rather poverty than wealth. So it would kind of take away the abundance instead of preserving it.
What does that mean?
So what I mean with that is, free markets work really well in organizing the economy. If we have robots that take over a large portion of the workforce, then the remaining work that could be done, I think that it will just be allocated differently. And it's not that everybody will be able to receive this universal income, like this printed money that's just flying at you. Because if they try to do that, they will exhaust the money. Like, the resource will go away. It's not like a money glitch that they can just shoot out the money and everybody's happy. It's like this utopia where it sounds like amazing, but I just don't see the economic principles that explain it. Maybe I'm not understanding it.
It's very hard to wrap your head around, because there are many ripple effects, many second order effects of when you choose to just give everybody money, what happens. I think this is also where people are, like, most of the people, I think most of the comments over here would be actually very interesting, because all these, like the first two comments that I see are from people who you would consider smart, Ankur Warikoo and Bev Bezos, like you'd consider them as, okay, they have thought about what they are writing. So I'm guessing that everybody right now, the main objection to that would be that on one end, you'll be like, we don't even know what to make money. Like there will be no jobs left to make money for. And number two, except the essential jobs. Other than that, on the other hand, you have this idea that most people, if they have money, they would not do anything. They would just lie on their bed and gamble and scroll TikTok. So it's like, I think that's kind of like the thing, incentivization idea that, okay, money is a form of incentivizing people to do certain things, have a goal, move towards that goal, build towards that goal. But without that incentive, why will people do anything? Why will they build? Why will they think about the society?
I think we already have it. Like in certain Western countries, you can basically live with everything essential provided for you, and some people do that.
Yeah.
For me, it wouldn't be meaningful.
Yeah.
And I feel like people want to do something.
Yes.
Doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to have a huge monetary reward.
Yes.
But there's so many different kinds of problems that they can solve. Whether that's something small they're passionate about or something massive with huge impact. People will still work on things, and there will be problems to solve. I don't think robots, AI will do everything, and humans don't have anything to do.
Yeah. Mainly, I think we're talking in terms of art, because it's like you still want to create things, and this is art. Like what we are doing over here, we are talking and we are creating content, and hopefully we create a community over here and people comment, and hopefully nobody's commenting right now, but hopefully people comment and we feel like, okay, we are doing something meaningful, and then we are engaging in a way that we find productive. Maybe that's the point. Okay, so let me read what Bev says. I think having the government invest in the big AI companies and distributing dividends makes more sense. I spoke about this recently on a podcast and believe that this is inevitable. People are shocked at the possibility of this outcome. We have been so conditioned to think of work as a dominant purpose that the concept of universal basic or high income without work sounds dystopian. Humans were never meant to show up to work in the manner that billions are forced to every day. We were meant to pursue interests, build things, connect with people, understand ourselves, and debate aimlessly. What is classified as unproductive today was how the average person grew intellectually, morally, and spiritually a few centuries back.
This makes me smile because I think it's a very American way of looking at work, whereas the way he describes like how it could be is actually how quite a few people in the world they live like that, and
That's
work
true.
might be like just a small portion of their day.
That's
but
true.
they center their life around all of these things.
That's true. It's exactly like, how there's a quote, I think Chris Dixon said it or somebody, that's like, future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. And that's it. Like some people are already living in universal high income, it's just that is not evenly distributed. Okay, Wi-Fi is doing amazing, so we are happy. All right, let's go to the next tweet that you have. Or wait, did you have anything else to mention over there?
Not right now.
Not right now.
No.
But let's see how this evolves.
Yeah, maybe something comes up.
Okay, perfect. And let's go to this tweet that you said the core tweet was much more interesting.
Yeah, so basically this one, the in real life connection economy is like a huge market, and it goes listing like all of these examples and like the evidence for that.
Right.
We don't need to go through that.
This is so interesting. It's
right?
The problem with apps for making friends is that they are full of other people that need an app to make friends.
And that's kind of the counter take to that. It's like, are we creating all of these apps and they're actually not solving the issue?
Exactly. This is the same thing. Like when I talk to some people who use OpenClaw, and I'm like, how are you using OpenClaw? Most of the things that they say to me, I feel like they are just creating work for the sake of work to justify that, yes, I'm paying $60 per month or whatever, $100 per month. It's not really what matters, but it does make sense. We have this idea of collateral damage, that you experiment a lot before you find the thing that truly matters. It makes sense, but yes, I think we see this in a lot of situations that with AI, most of the time you're just creating work. You don't really have to do that work. That work isn't even required. That isn't even work. You are just manufacturing things to do because you don't know what to do with your time.
Right, yeah. It sounds like the productivity setup
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
creating
Yes.
instead of doing the actual task.
Yes, it's very interesting. I have a friend who works at Notion, and we were talking yesterday. He was helping people understand the Notion custom agents, and I remember going through this phase 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when Notion was doing this massive marketing push in universities to get students to use Notion. Most of the videos, everything was all about how beautiful and cool your Notion setup looks like. It was not really about, is it actually helping you in a way? Everybody was moved toward it. It totally makes sense. That's their attraction engine, that's their acquisition engine. But you quickly realize that what you are really doing is you're trying to make all these cool automations and animations and like beautification just so that your Notion setup looks cool. It's not actually helping you do anything. You're not actually doing anything. You are just optimizing for the sake of optimization. And that's where I started the setup, that okay, I'll always use Apple Notes for all my ideas. I'll experiment quickly on Apple Notes. If this thing that I'm working on expands to a certain point where it needs more management, then I will move that to Notion. So all the experimentation starts in Apple Notes, and then if it requires a sort, like for the book club, I started my book club thing as a simple thing that, okay, this place is missing out on physical books. Let me just grab physical books. We went to a bookstore, we bought physical books, and that's it. But then when I saw that, okay, now we need to raise money, we need to create some sort of crowdfunding over here, we need to create some sort of sense of belonging, because I cannot be there always, but I still want people to feel like, okay, you are part of it, and you can also contribute to it. We created a Notion page, we publish it as a website, we started sharing it with everybody. Now momentum is building. So it's, again, are you manufacturing work for the sake of work versus are you doing something that matters? By the way, we also have COVID over here. He's our first guest from NSTV episode 1. You want to say hi?
Yeah.
You wanna join us?
You can grab a chair from here.
What's up? Yo.
And, all right, let's go. This is the first episode with 3 people. Let's go. All right, we were just talking about this. Do you want to join right away?
Sure, let's
all right,
go.
let's go. So he bookmarked this tweet. The problem. Did you see this?
I have the same one.
What do you mean? Like, you're talking app or bookmark?
Bookmarked. I have
Oh,
the original
wow.
tweet bookmarked, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what do you think?
No, I just wanted to like.
You called at the perfect time. Okay, go ahead.
No, I think I think as people become more and more isolated and locked in, the value of community keeps increasing. I think, and especially the value of offline community.
Yes.
Like, it's almost like there's like a divergence in 2 ways. Like, the world becomes increasingly online, and that is why the increasingly offline things become more and more valuable.
Yes.
And you're talking to the right person here, by the way. This guy runs
Yes.
most of the offline stuff in
Yes.
and has bunch of trips and yeah. So I'm sure Yese has a few takes.
That actually makes so much sense. Okay, thank you for pointing that out, because I think we talked about this, like what it was your motivation to start these trips, and you mentioned about did you mention that you feel isolated and you wanted to create these experiences where people are coming together?
Exactly, yeah. So before coming here, I did feel very isolated, and I always had a hard time finding the right people and surrounding myself with them.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, then I'll just try to solve this problem. And the first month of being here, like back in September, I was actually, ironically, working on an app. But then I realized I should probably start on the ground, because there's a demand for deeper connection here.
Yeah.
And that worked really well. That's like actually bringing people together in a small community. And then the trips was kind of an extension of that, because it's one of the best ways for people to bond. And I think apps, they can be useful. Like I found many apps very useful to meet up. Like, for instance, how did we come here? Okay, it's not directly an app, but NS is kind of like
Yes.
online tool.
As a podcast.
Or like using dating apps to
Yeah.
meet somebody that has also been like helpful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is it like actually solving the problem, or is it just promising that you feel you get closer to your desire, but you are actually not really getting closer? Because you can just approach people in person. You can ask somebody else in person. You can make friends much better in person. You just need to pick an activity, go to a place recurringly where you enjoy spending time, whether that's sports or music.
Yeah.
And then you start forming these relationships, but you need to invest time into it. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. It reminds me, one of my first internships, I was traveling a lot. All the interns were traveling to host events. And one of my friends, she said that the best way to know a person is to travel with them, because you both are now in an unknown territory where you are outside your routines. In a routine, you can have a mask, you can have a lot of comfort because you know what's happening. But the moment you are in unknown space, now you know that, okay, how does this person handle themselves when they are in an unknown territory and when things are uncertain?
Yeah, things will go wrong, and how do you handle that?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a good test. Similar to sports, I think. Like the before you sign any business deal with somebody, play sports with them. That'll tell you a lot about
teamwork.
What kind of person exactly they are. It's an advice I got. I think one thing I'm interested in is like learning. So a lot of companies that are like famous online companies, Netflix is doing this. Zomato recently bought a company called District, so they can host offline events. Notion is hiring for a community manager. Anthropic is hiring for a community manager. So a lot of like big online software companies are moving offline. They're trying to find in like on ground, campuses and communities.
Cursors coming over here.
And then there's like Cursors opening a cafe.
Base is over here.
Cursors opening a cafe. But I wonder if we'll also see the opposite, where it's an offline gathering of people, communities, friend groups, parties that then get online. NS also is an online community that then buys rents a hotel and then brings people together.
Yes.
But I wonder if there are going to be the opposite, where friend groups, let's play football together every week, or let's go to a party every week or whatever, and then it becomes okay, let's invite other people, let's create a community, and maybe there's something there.
It makes so much sense. I think this is what even when you're in crypto, and this is what the general advice is for your early 20s, right? That okay, you have to go in person, you have to meet as many people as possible, so that when you are older you can just go remote, you can stay in the most remote place. But now that you have the connections and you have deep relationships with people, you can still keep doing work from anywhere. But early in your career you have to like in person develop those relationships.
Yes. Very important, and I'm happy ESA here in NS is helping us build those out at least a little bit.
Yes. No, really cool. And have you tried this app, the IRL Connection Economy's $100 billion market, in the last month?
I think it's coding different. Like,
are they building an app, or is this just?
It's different apps they're
advice,
coding.
I think.
I've tried.
Okay.
I've hosted with Marriage Pack.
Marriage Pack.
Like matchmaking nights, Matchbox.
We use an algorithm to find your practical backup. What? To find your practical backup plan, and they say romance is dead. Okay, I don't know what that means. Practical.
I am also not sure what it
backup
means,
plan.
but it's basically a question algorithm that matches you with the most compatible person, and we use it for platonic matchmaking.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun.
Interesting. Now, the words marriage pact reminds me of something, which if we have time, I'd like to get it.
Yes.
It's a very interesting business model I saw. I don't know if they're live, but I think it's a startup in Bangalore, and what they were doing, I forget the name, but what they were doing is they were calling it love insurance. So if you're a couple, every month you pay a certain premium to this company based on the fact that in 5 years from today, if you decide to marry, you'll get all your money back plus some return on investment towards your marriage. But if you don't, then that money, the company keeps it. So it's almost like
love insurance, and it's from both the sides.
There's a certain amount of money that goes out. I don't know which one pays. It could be one, could be either, it could be 50-50. But it's like if you're sure that this is the person you're gonna marry, then it makes sense for you to start paying the company so that in 5 years you'll get all your money back, plus for the marriage and everything. But it's like incentivizing you
Yes.
to like stay together in a way.
Yes.
It's
It would
just,
make sense if it goes both the sides. It wouldn't make sense if it goes only one side.
Well, it
like-
depends on which one makes money or who makes more money and stuff like that. I guess like
yeah.
if the delta is too high, then
Or it could be simply like ratio, right? Like, hey, you
Yeah.
both pay like 10% of your net worth, something like that.
sure, whatever.
yeah.
But it was just a very, I don't know if they ever got started or what the status of that company is, but and then also the incentive structure for the company is to make sure that they break up, right?
Yes.
Like so it's like it's a very weird, like I'm not sure how they
Yeah. I was thinking about that. So I
Yeah.
think it's a
So
it's
it's like
good marketing.
Exactly. It's like the couple is like fighting all the time trying to prove the company wrong. One of the
Yeah.
incentives is also that
Yeah.
we don't want you to make money, so
Yeah.
we will stay together just so that you don't
No,
make
but
money.
you have to get married. That's the condition. At the end of the 5 years, and
Yeah.
especially in India, it's hard to get a divorce.
Yes.
So you really like if you're marrying, you probably are going to be together. Like you better be sure about that.
Okay.
So it's like so you cannot scam the company that way.
Interesting.
So
That
it's
makes sense. That makes sense.
So it's a
yeah.
very I'm not sure what happened. Maybe if you can search for Love Insurance Company Bangalore or something.
Let's see.
If we can find that.
Love Insurance Company Bangalore.
Or it's a startup or something.
Book my show. Okay.
It's a real startup. No, that's not
Sci-fi
right.
romantic
No.
comedy. ICICI.
No. There's a startup that was doing it. That's fine.
Can you find a startup that is doing love insurance in Bangalore?
Isn't it just like a reframe of
Prediction
shared
market.
investment?
I guess, yeah.
I mean,
pretty
you
much.
just put money together and invest it, and then you
There is
Take
no
out the
credible
returns.
startup. There is Ziki Love.
Okay, if they marry, that's probably
Relationship
it.
insurance. Okay.
Yeah, that's probably it. So if you pay, exactly. You pay for 5 years. If you marry, you get the payout. If you break up, there's nothing.
Couples pay premium for 5 years. If they marry, 10x payout.
Yeah.
If they break up, you get nothing. It's been circulating online as world's first relationship insurance, viral fintech experiment. It's a stunt, okay? Concept
Maybe.
startup.
I did see an ad with everything. Maybe it's not actually real, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's not real, but it's very interesting. First relationship insurance policy comes with one.
Can we look up Ziki Love? Is that real or
Sure. There is no website over here, but
okay?
let's see. Ziki Love.
Maybe it's not real.
Yeah, it's not real. It was just a project.
Hmm.
But very interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. at
But
least.
it's exactly, yeah, it's exactly
But I
what-
guess the incentive structure is all wrong. That's the problem there.
yeah.
Like it would
Yeah.
make like the company would want them to break up.
And also,
So-
I think you are prone to conflate the health of a relationship with your financial incentives, because
Yeah.
it incentivizes you to stay in the relationship to get the money payout,
Yeah.
and that might impact the way you think about the relationship, and you might stay
Yeah.
in a relationship even though it might not
Yeah.
be right for you,
So it-
just to get
Yeah, it would be a negative reason, like it would be a
Yeah.
bad reason to stay together.
yeah.
Like you don't actually love them, it's just that you want the money back. But also, I guess the other condition with that was that all of the money that you get back is for your marriage. So for your wedding, sorry. So it's not that.
Okay.
So it's not a ROI in that sense. It's just that your wedding.
Right.
But
right.
like you can have like a really big wedding because you're getting
Right.
a lot of money back. Or whatever.
Right. It could be like, yeah, you are kind of this is like a slow investing into your this kind of FD for your marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be very weird to just be like, yeah, you get your money back, and now what do you do with the money?
No.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's not exactly that.
Yeah.
But
There's actually, I recently was looking into it. There's a very interesting show. I don't know how relevant that is now, but there was a very interesting show called Wedding or House. So that was kind of like a wave to test people out that, okay, the entire show is that a couple is about to get married, but there are fanciest real estate agents trying to show you the fanciest houses, and there are fancy wedding planners who are trying to convince you to host a really massive wedding. And at the end of it, even though it makes sense to invest all the money to get a house, which is more long term, everybody ends up choosing marriage, wedding. That we want to throw a massive wedding, and what happens after that is just one night, and then poof, the money's gone, and you are left with nothing.
Is it free money? Like, is it like the show will give you money for this, or is it their own money?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I think show might have contributed a little bit, but
Okay.
actually
Because
doesn't make sense.
I wonder if the economics change if it's their money versus the show's money.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like if it's the show's money, then I'd rather just throw an event and I'll save my money for the house or.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if the show is
Maybe.
trying to convince them, then the show should give them some money to play with.
Maybe that's what changes the dynamic.
But also, if it's your money, that makes the show even more interesting. Like, what are you willing to do with your own money?
Yeah.
That's the real thing that you would do.
Yeah.
With show's money, kind of it. What do we say? Inflates the optionalities
Yeah,
and
it
stuff.
changes the incentive.
Yeah, changes the incentive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I looked into this one, Timeleft. So Timeleft is pretty
Oh,
cool.
Yeah.
Dinner with 5 strangers every Wednesday. 18 minute
I've been
ARR.
trying to get to a time left dinner in Johor, but they don't have it.
Yeah, you
They
need to
have
go
in
to Singapore.
Singapore, yeah.
Okay.
Have you been?
I haven't been. I was
Yeah.
planning to test it out eventually, but I guess I have the time left here every night, so
Yeah, exactly.
dinner with
Yeah, why would you go anywhere else? This
strangers
is it.
and friends.
I tried
But
that in
that-
Vancouver. Yeah.
But is that true? Do you have dinner with strangers or do you have dinner with people you already know usually?
Now I think more with people I know,
Yeah.
but I feel like my stranger to people I know ratio is pretty good. So there's
Mhm.
always, if I want to meet a stranger, like I can do so here. I don't need to venture out far.
Makes sense.
But of course, if I'm somewhere maybe for a week or something, and it would be nice to go.
Yeah. You tried it in Vancouver, you were saying?
Yeah, I tried Timeleft in Vancouver, I think, couple times, 2 times maybe, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, they pick up a nice restaurant, a Thai restaurant or Vietnamese, and then you go there, you eat food, and sometimes it's interesting because it's like, there is a thing to bumping into someone and naturally making them a friend versus people who are like, I'm lonely, I need friends.
Right.
So it's like, that's the dynamic. Like, you want the serendipitous, you want everything to be by serendipity, right?
Yeah.
Because that makes you feel like, okay, this was true and this was cool. It had a story behind it. You always love stories, right? Like, okay, this is how I got my job. It just happened like this, blah, blah, blah. If you just got everything without any story behind it, that's no fun.
But to be honest, I also think usually the first meeting is a bit more of a vibe check. So if you go to a Timeleft dinner with 5 strangers, you just want to see if you like somebody enough to meet them again. And once you meet them again, that's actually where you start building the relationship. And similar with dating apps, like the first date is just like, okay, hey, do we like each other? And then you can like meet them again, and then you start to build the story.
That's a very interesting point because I feel like over here in NS, the social dynamics are amplified because you're constantly together. There's a high density, and all our basics are taken care of. So we are just focused on meeting and creating, right? But in a city, even if you meet someone at Timeleft, you feel they are cool. But if they were totally different routine where they live like 10 kilometers far away, they go to a different gym, and for you to meet, you have to do a lot of extra work.
It better be
That
like
doesn't
really
work.
worth it.
So when I think about it, that's a really good point that you made, because when I think about it, 2 of my really good friends in Vancouver, I met both of them at the gym. Why? Because gym is my routine. And on my Saturdays, on my Sundays, I spend a little bit more time over there. I can just we can go on a run, we grab coffee together, we hang out in the steam room together. So it's like, you want people to be part of your routine. Somehow there has to be a third place there where you both hang out. You have a routine and you hang out kind of, what's the word? You visit it.
Naturally.
Yeah,
Naturally.
exactly.
This
Yeah.
makes me think like NS is just a massive third place.
Exactly.
That's the main value proposition.
Yeah, because I guess the first and second places are also in NS. Like you live here, you work here, also you do everything else here. But it's just the distance is so small, so there's like no friction. So it's the incentive for making a friend in some city would have to be really like, you have to really like that person to spend all of that effort traveling 10 kilometers to, versus in NS, if you kind of like them, sure, let's talk.
Exactly. Friction.
Yeah.
You have,
There's no friction.
it's just like, this reminds me of AI. What did AI did? Like you're walking down the road and you were like, oh, this building, that's very interesting. Who made this? And you're like, I don't have time to look on Google and stuff. But now that AI has reduced the friction so much, there's this new type of questions which are called wonder questions.
Right.
I wonder about this, and because the accessibility is so good and friction is so less, I actually ask these questions that who made this? What's the history of this? Stuff like
People
that.
can wonder more.
Exactly. We have more wonder questions that we are, and that's how the more you reduce the friction, the more you increase the accessibility, the more you engage.
It's a very childlike quality, no? To
Yeah.
wonder.
Yeah,
So it's something that children naturally have, and then as we grow, we kind of like lose it.
exactly.
And I'm happy that that's coming back.
How do you conserve your wonder?
Sense of wonder.
Yeah,
Is that a question?
that's a question.
Oh, okay.
Because it's cool that you actually identified that. I'm guessing you care about it.
I care about it. I think part of it is just to approach things as a child, and then kind of like detach your ego from it, because part of what kills wonder is the idea that you should know. That if you didn't know and you were to ask something that's a stupid question, or you're dumb, or I can't believe you don't know this already, part of it is just to detach your ego, just like, sure, but I'm really just curious. I would really just it's to detach your sense of identity, like asking questions doesn't necessarily make me like dumb. It just makes me more curious. And I think it's also about like just the perspective you have like on the world. If you're kind of like low energy and tired of the world, like there's also a sense of gratitude, like in the sense that if you wake up every day and you're like, damn, I really am just happy to be here. Like, it's like such a wonderful place. The word wonderful, and then you're like, well, I actually am curious about what. And then if you are just kind of like every day you wake up and you're like, I can't believe it's yet another day, then your sense of wonder naturally dies.
I like what you said about wonderful. I'm thinking about that. It's like in Hindi we have this thing called Sandhi Vichhed,
right?
where you take a big word and you break it down into
yeah.
what this word is made up of.
Yeah.
And it's like we have a different idea of what the word wonderful means, and we have a different context in which we use wonderful. But when you break it down, wonder and full, it means different.
Something
different.
incites wonder in you.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all I got.
Interesting. Jesse.
Actually, it's time for me to wander off.
Wander off. Okay.
So thanks for having me, and I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you'll pick up maybe.
You have one more tweet. Would you like to quickly talk about it?
Oh yeah, I can quickly give you a
Yes.
conversation starter.
Yes.
So, yeah.
This is exactly what we're talking about.
Speedrunning relationships.
You literally can speedrun intimacy. Okay, go ahead.
And yeah, the one person, Sean, he says that he's speedrunning relationships now because of his age or the life stage he's in. And the counter take is basically that you cannot do that. So I wonder what you think about it.
Wow.
I love the.
He said it's better to go slowly. Wait. A friend recently blew my mind. I told him I'm old, so now I tend to speedrun relationships and try to assess compatibility early. Got it. He said it's better to go slowly so that the incompatibilities don't surface until you both die. Okay, this is very interesting. They both could be right. Both could be a good approach, but it's interesting how both the approach are on the different ends of the spectrum, and both could work.
I'm gonna leave you pondering about that.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Jesse. All right.
Thank you.
See you.
Take care. I'm gonna join over here,
Sure.
and we'll get you into the frame. Oh, I'll give you the charger later. Thank you. Merci. All right.
Danke.
Danke.
See ya.
Parfait. Thank you. All right. What do you think?
This reminds me of I don't know if you know this, but there is this one research paper, and it's highly touted in a lot of places, and a lot of like dating apps and matchmaking apps are like they kind of like use this as the basis. And the research essentially says that I think there's like a list of 20 questions,
Yes.
which once you go through, you kind of know all that you really need to know about somebody to make a matchmaking algorithm. Like, if I get answers on those 20 questions from you and then 100 other people, I know about 90% of what I need to know in order to match you with somebody really close to you. So if you go by that logic, then all you need apparently is 20 questions. You don't actually need to take time to study that person in a low stakes environment for years, or according to that logic, you would be able to speedrun relationships. Or at least you ask 20 questions, you determine whether it works, okay, swipe, next one, you know. There are people in NS that are building like matchmaking algorithms and like apps to like get people together who use that as the basis. But I wonder how right that is. You know, all research papers are just hypotheses with like maybe some evidence, but like probably doesn't apply to
I'm
8
actually
billion people.
rethinking about this because it's like, yeah, exactly. Like this is the place where your social dynamics get amplified. So you really have to think about these kind of things, right? Like who are these people?
Yeah.
Because you don't know how long you're going to be over here, but you want to make sure that you invest in the right people. Everybody's a stock.
Yeah.
Everybody's a stock.
Yeah.
Who is going to be the Facebook that's going to blow up? Who's going to be the Nvidia that's going to
Yeah.
blow up, right? You have option to invest in any stock out here. And I feel like, yeah, there's always the middle way.
Mhm.
These both are at the different ends of the spectrum,
Yeah.
and there's always a middle way.
Yeah.
You can be speed. I think his definition of speedrunning relationship is basically doing these questions
Yeah.
and quickly figuring out that, okay, you're not for me, you're not for me,
Yeah.
you're not for me.
Yeah.
But the relationship actually builds over time slowly. All these relationships are slow. They're like pottery. Every week you come, every week you give one stroke and you add more flavor to it, you add more texture to it.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you go so slowly that the incompatibilities don't surface. That means like your reality is kind of limited because
Yeah.
you never explore what's really out there.
Yeah.
So there has to be, it's the explore exploit equation. Have you come across this book, Algorithms to Live By?
I haven't, no.
It's an amazing book.
Okay.
And it talks about explore exploit paradox. No, I don't think that's it. But explore, the balance of explore and exploit, which is basically like, yeah, 30%. If you have, let's say, 1 week to explore Singapore, you should do, it's 30-70, and it's 33 and 67.
Okay.
So I forgot which one is explore exploit, but anyways, you should be spending 33% of your time, which means let's say 3 days. You should be just exploring, go to every different bar, every different restaurant, every different cinema, and then the remaining 6 days, everything in that frame of 3 days, whatever you like the most, only do
it
that.
again? Okay.
So only exploit them.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah, it's the wide funnel strict filter rule.
Yeah.
Like wide funnel is like experience as many things as you can, like go as wide, like do everything once, and then strict filter is like immediately filter out when you're like, okay, this is not for me, or like this is for me, go double down. Experience everything, but like be very clear about like what you actually want in your life versus not.
Really cool. Really cool. It's like, literally today this happened where, I don't know if you know Aaron.
Aaron from NS core team.
No. That's also good Aaron.
Yeah.
But another Aaron who is into farming, who is into agriculture, all the biotech side, and he quickly became a really good friend. It's just been 2 weeks and he became a really good friend, and he's flying out tomorrow. So we just had like a really good
Nice.
coffee, and it's like, it's these kind of people that I was really looking at. I'm really happy that I made him friends, but now he's gone.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Oh yeah, that's like a very big thing, which also like in NS specifically, your I think as time goes by, you will very quickly become the kind of person, or not you specifically, but anybody would quickly become the kind of person who will immediately filter people. And the reasoning behind that is quickly you will realize that 100 or more, maybe 200 new people will come in every month, and those 200 will leave at the end of the month. So you might spend time and effort and energy, bonding with someone, and they'll go. Next month, another 200. Next month, another 200. And you will very quickly run out of juice.
Yeah.
So at that point, you will realize that, okay, I need to have a very strict filter. Like if I try and explore as much or like make friends with everybody, it's just not gonna work.
Right.
So I need to be very clear about like who am I spending time with. This is not necessarily universal advice. This is just like specifically for the NS scenario. It's kind of what ends up happening.
Right.
Yeah. you kind of develop a strong filter.
Yeah, it's
Instead
interesting
of-
because every
yeah.
month the system is flooded with 200 new people,
Yeah, and then-
and you have to decide that what phase are you in? Are you in a phase where you want total silence, where you don't want to engage even with the existing members,
Yeah.
or are you in a experimentation phase where you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm open to conversations,
Yeah.
but still, how open should I be?
Yeah. But I also specifically very much like the original tweet there.
Original tweet, okay.
Love bomb my wife, love her
Oh wait,
unconditionally.
original this one, okay.
This one.
I'm gonna love bomb my wife, love her unconditionally for 70 years, then ghost her.
Die.
That's amazing.
It's-
That's
Yeah,
it.
it's
That's it.
very sweet.
That's it. That's it.
I find it, it's great.
That's it. That's the way. Okay, but what was this one? Literally, you can't speedrun intimacy. All you get when you try is a whole bunch of another person's stories about themselves, paired with a version of the nervous system that is stressed out by unnatural closeness. Wow. Neither of those tell us much about the other person, and in fact give a significantly more skewed perception of their character than getting to know them in a relaxed state over an even slightly longer period of time would. I think this is very interesting. It's another conversation I was having with someone, a friend, who's talking about marriage
Mm-hmm.
and how in India, in a very conventional, orthodox society, let's say, a traditional society, you have biodatas,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
very similar to resume.
Yeah.
You are trying to evaluate this entire. You are asking first of all this entire person to describe themselves in a couple labels,
Sure. Yeah.
which they're obviously not.
Yeah.
Human is very. You have many more interests than the things that you have written down on this resume, biodata as we call them, and then there's this idea that Schrodinger's equation or Schrodinger's cat, right? You are different when you observed.
Mm-hmm.
You are different when interacted.
Mm-hmm.
Before interaction and during interaction, there's a change.
Right.
And that same thing happens. The moment you are together, they are no more the same person. You have changed that person. The moment that person is being observed by you.
Yeah.
And I think that is something we don't think about.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same with dating apps, dating app profiles and when you actually go on a date with them.
Yes.
But it's just significantly lower stakes.
Yeah.
Because dating apps, you don't like them on the first date, you're out. But marriages, if things are moving rapidly, maybe, you go on, you meet a couple of times, but in India, typically, you usually, the marriage part it's very quickly, it happens pretty quickly. And then, it's higher stakes if it actually doesn't work out. But I think it's, I think what she's talking about, I agree mostly, but there are situations where this would not apply. Actually, specifically if you talk about dating in NS, if you date in NS, right? If you date it outside, you'd probably, let's say, have a date on Saturday. So you spend let's say 1 or 2 hours together. The next date would be next Saturday. You spend, so 1 week has passed and you have spent another, let's say 2 hours. So in 1 week you spend maybe 4 hours. And then another Saturday, maybe you've spent another 1 hour or whatever, 5 hours together in the space of 3 weeks, right? And that's how much you've gotten to know. In NS, you can spend 5 hours in 1 day. You go to an event, you have lunch together, you have dinner together, you go to the beach together, 5 hours done.
Yeah.
The first day you meet them.
Right.
And so, you can in that case speedrun quote unquote intimacy, because by the time you spend 1 week with that person, you've probably spent more time with that person than you would outside in a few months.
Exactly.
So now you know that person much better than people who have known that person for months, because you just have so much time to talk to them. So in that case,
This is so interesting. It's so interesting. I was talking to one of the friends about this idea that all you need is, whatever you're doing, all you need is really fast feedback loops.
Yeah.
You want interaction with reality. You want really fast loops where you
Yeah.
have an idea, you put it out in the reality, you see how the world reacts to it, and then you change your behavior based on that
Yeah.
reaction. That's it.
Yeah.
And relationship is the fastest way to understand your mental model,
Mhm.
because you are up close with this person, and now how that person reacts and how you react in the presence of that person, it's all being amplified now, and you
Yeah.
are getting really fast feedback.
Yeah.
So,
and
yeah.
extremely fast.
Extremely
if you're
fast.
in a society like this.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
you can in that case speedrun intimacy, what this person's talking about. But
Very
yeah, that's
interesting.
an exceptional case. In general, I agree.
Really cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we switch to politics.
Okay. All right, let's do it.
Now let's see what comes up. Okay. Do you know what MTS, monitoring the situation, A16Z?
Oh yeah, they just announced it, right?
Yes.
Like today. I think.
Yesterday they announced it.
Yeah.
And today Balaji was on their stream.
Balaji and
Mark and Reason.
and
I think
one
they got a lot of them just
Yeah.
on their first stream, because it's like 10-hour stream they're doing.
Okay.
They are doing, I think they announced 24/7, but I saw the last stream was 10 hours. So they
Right.
constantly have like a couple people who are coming on, and it's
Yeah.
the new media team that A16Z is trying to create.
Okay.
So A16Z is going out on distribution. They first of all found a couple interesting people with interesting, let's say, subject matter, interesting takes on Twitter. They formed this new media fellowship, and now they are like, let's bring them all together under one banner, which is
Yeah.
MTS.
Yeah.
So we'll keep rotating under this banner of monitoring the situation. We'll have the super long stream, and right now over here, Jacqueline is talking about that how there is no one winner in case of media, because everybody thought that TBPN is the only winner, but TBPN definitely set the stage. But now this is opening up more and more people to start their live streams. There's like ETN, European Tech Network. There is another one which I saw today. It's called Cap Table. MTS is out there.
Yeah.
There are a couple more people experimenting.
you've got
We are
offline.
experimenting.
Yeah.
NSTV over here.
NSTV, yeah.
So her basic idea is that, yes, they're objectively winners, but they are not the only winners. There are
Right.
tons of shows.
Yeah.
So will this media sector.
Yeah.
In the coming months, there will be a number of shows and content that
Yeah.
fit a niche,
Yep.
and people will be attracted
Yep.
constantly to a different niche, and people are constantly looking for different flavors, different personalities.
Absolutely. No, I think. Sorry, were you saying something?
That's it.
Okay. No, I think it's. I think the premium on creating a strong distribution network, and not just in terms of like size, but in terms of like engagement and loyalty, is like extremely high right now. That's like I think for now it is the highest leverage thing you can do. It is better than creating a killer product. It is better than investing your money wisely. It is better than almost anything you can do career wise. The best move you can potentially do, according to me at least, is build a solid distribution network, because it is getting increasingly easy to build any sort of product. Could be a technical product, could be a non-technical product, could be operations, everything. Like the friction to entry, the barrier to entry, the barrier to make a high quality version of that is like decreasing exponentially. And so whoever has the best distribution will win. Like it's as easy as that.
This is very interesting, because there's a different frame to think about this, right? Like, you're talking about distribution, which one could think in terms of that, okay, then I should stop building products, I should just create content. Another way to think about is that distribution, exactly what we talk about intimacy, this is how connected, right? If you show up every single day, you're kind of you are nudging people to slowly make your face familiar.
Yeah.
And as your familiarity increases, people start trusting you a little bit, just because they know your name, they know your face now.
Yeah.
And now if you keep showing up every day in terms of, let's say here live stream,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you talk about. Just the fact that people see your name constantly, just the fact that your face comes across them, they have familiarity, they understand this face now, and then they end up trusting you just because of, as a proxy of familiarity, or familiarity becomes a proxy of trust. And then what ends up happening is that Varun Maya said something interesting, which is like, it dampens the luck effect. Which means if you didn't have any content, if you were just like shipping ideas, you were throwing products at the wall and seeing what sticks, you are totally at the mercy of luck. Something will go viral, something will not. But if you keep building content, even if let's say I have right now 600 subscribers over here, every time I put something, if I have a new product idea, I put it out there, all the 600 people are seeing it.
Yeah.
And then I can quickly see who reacts, who doesn't react.
Absolutely.
So it's very interesting. You dampen the luck effect, because you can, if you are building an audience, if this audience is subscribing to you, you can constantly quickly test with all these people and with your organic reach without investing anything in paid.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's I like that framing of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. I wonder, like, since you've definitely been doing this more and have experience, like, do you think like frequency, familiarity, showing up consistently, that versus providing new value, providing new information, providing like something novel, I'm not saying those things are like opposing to each other, but it could be hard to do both constantly. Like it could be hard to constantly, frequently, every day show up and also every day come up with something new, something novel. So I'm wondering, like, in that like sort of spectrum, where should you lean?
This is very interesting because it's like, yeah, you look at someone like Christopher Nolan. He is working on one project for 1.5 years, and then the project comes out. The day when he thought about that idea for the first time, he committed to that. He acquired all the capital for that. He convinced all the actors and actresses to cancel all their plans and just commit to him for this next production period. It's a massive ask. And people are just following his intuition that a year and a half later, when this idea that he has today comes to reality, it will work. Not only as an art, but also as a business. And it's a crazy, gamble. But people are taking it. On the other hand, so that is one, that's the extreme. On the other extreme, you have, let's say, TBPN or we are TBPN, let's say, who is pushing out content every single day, and you know that there is nothing new on earth. It's just remixing, constant remixing of ideas, and you are just hoping that you're not hoping, you're just creating trust with people. That we are just creating a routine, a ritual where we come together, we do a certain thing, and we are not promising you to throw something novel every single day. This is just our creative space, our research space, and we are putting it out there. And then you have something in between, which is like somebody like Jerry Seinfeld, right? Varun Maya. Or I think Seinfeld would be a good example. Varun Maya could also be a good example. Seinfeld could be a good example where he is obviously, he's a comedian. So he is writing every single day. He's sitting for 2 to 3 hours in his flow state, and he's constantly writing jokes, and then he's testing them in a closed door fashion, and then the things that work comes out in public as a special.
Makes sense.
So it's like staged, staged output versus live streaming is always on output versus Christopher Nolan is
only staged
output. Which is like long-term stage output.
That's interesting. That actually makes sense. So you should have almost like a testing base where it's okay for you to like make mistakes or push out quantity that's not necessarily like the most unique. Because from that you will know like when the big one comes, what's like ready to push. That checks out.
See, it's so interesting. What I just said, I never thought about this before. I had like very latent, vague ideas about this, but today for the first time when you asked me, I was able to put it down as a spectrum.
It's questions and conversations. It's always the best way to learn is to teach, right?
Exactly.
So like when you teach me, you learn.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Cool, man.
Exactly. Okay. Next one. Let's see. I don't think we looked at your tweets. Let me quickly
Sure.
pull up.
While you're doing that, can I get some water?
Sure. Can I also get some water?
Yeah. I'll get some from the library. Take 1 minute.
Sure. Okay. We have our guest who will be back, and we'll turn off the video input.
So approach things as a child.
This is amazing. I was just checking the audio input while you were sitting behind, and it works. It works amazingly. So the goal was always to simplify the setup and focus on the content first, and then slowly we'll make the 1% improvements to make this better. Okay. And I wanted to bring up your bookmarks. And here it is. Perfect. All right. What happens when you double teacher salaries? Okay.
Research paper which says that education outcomes don't actually get better. And interesting thing, because I have one of the things I have always maintained. One of my strongest beliefs actually is that one of the most underpaid professions in the world is a teacher. I feel like they should be taught the most.
Yeah.
And you can obviously see the argument where countries which have the best education outcomes, like the Scandinavian countries, Norway and Finland and Sweden, pay their teachers among the highest. One of the most well-paid professions in those countries is the teacher. But this paper says that you can double teacher salaries, but teacher effort doesn't increase and student outcomes don't increase. And so I'm wondering what you think of that.
This is very interesting. You know where my brain goes first?
Mm-hmm.
You know how Jensen Huang describes himself?
No?
Jensen Huang says that I'm a teacher.
Okay. Teacher of what? What is he teaching?
I'm constantly teaching. And I forgot more context, but I remember clearly him saying he's a teacher. If you know Scott Galloway, right?
No.
Scott Galloway is a NYU professor who talks about young men right now. He ran like this entire media agency focused on branding, but also data analytics. And then he is now really good at creating these. He had this one TED Talk which had a lot of views, 17 million. It was TED Talk in Vancouver, and it was a beautiful. It got all these views because not only he is a good storyteller, but because of his background in data analytics, he's adding a lot of facts to it.
Right.
He's a really good storyteller, and then he also has humor.
Okay.
So that entire package made that talk. You should check out that talk.
Okay.
Made that talk
Scott
really.
Galloway?
Scott Galloway.
Sure.
Really. TED Vancouver, TEDx
Okay.
Vancouver,
Sure.
or TED Talk Vancouver, and it's around young men. So he's talking about an important problem. He's a good storyteller. He has all the right facts, or he has a lot of facts as well, not just emotional. And then he has humor.
Yeah.
So that made it very fascinating. So it's like, and when you look at that, he's teaching something,
Sure.
and he's actually a professor. He's a teacher. So it's like at the highest level, everybody is a teacher.
Sure.
Jensen Huang, he is basically saying like, okay, I have 60 direct reports to me, and all these people are at the top of their career. I don't need to do any one-on-ones with them for career development because they're already at the top of their game. So what we are doing is I forgot what's the exact context, but he's like, I'm constantly teaching.
Right.
I'm constantly teaching where are we going, what are we doing,
Right.
and stuff like that. And all these people are coming together. It's like a brain where everybody learns and then everybody goes and execute on their verticals.
Right. So I don't need to do their job for them. It's
Yes.
I'm just teaching. I'm not I'm not the guy who's managing their work. I'm
And I think
you do your work.
Yeah.
I'm just here to kind of guide you, teach you.
Yeah. And I think teaching comes also more from a perspective of just like, hey, throw all the problems to me, based on all the context I have, based on where the future is going, based on everything, I'll give a direction. And I think that direction giving is kind of the teaching aspect as well over there, because he's not teaching a specific skill to them. He's just giving direction to them.
Right.
Because he's not like, okay, let me teach you French and this is how French grammar works, this is how the rules work.
Right.
And everybody knows the rules.
Sure.
It's more about
Guide.
the direction.
Yeah.
Where are we going, considering all the factors, politics,
Yeah.
technological, what are the waves, everything.
Well, that's interesting. I have been an educator. I am an educator in a lot of senses. And one thing I often talk about as well is that you cannot, this is my own take, I don't know if it's true, but I think you cannot really teach anything to a kid. A kid always learns things by themselves, or by himself. Like when he decides he wants to learn this, he'll learn it. Your job as a teacher is to convince him why it's important to learn this. Like, it's to make a strong argument for learning this, and then he'll learn it.
So true.
But you cannot teach anything. So that's like. But I was just kind of curious about this. Like, institutionally speaking, let's say you have a certain budget, and if you were, hypothetically just given the large arbitrary task of fixing education, potentially a lot of people will say, let us pay teachers more, and maybe we'll have better teachers. Maybe we'll have more teacher effort or whatever. But apparently not. And so
this goes back to this entire idea of wonder. And what a child wants. Child wants play. And what Naval Ravikant talks about, when work and play merges together, and you don't know what is work, what is play.
Right.
For others, what seems like work seems like play to you, and that's the thing that you should be doing and optimizing for. And I think that's it. Like, we want kids. I think if you look into the school that Elon Musk started, it's called Astra.
Ad Astra, yeah.
It's all around play. Like pick something, astrophysics. Okay, now go. Like be curious about it. Be curious, wonder, and keep going.
Yeah.
And I'm just here a guide. I'll just navigate. I'll just help you navigate. That's it. But I'm not telling you to do any specific thing. You are choosing your own adventure.
Right.
And when exactly like even if you talk about in an organization, the best managers know how to manage, and which is that the people they're managing needs autonomy, needs mastery in whatever they're doing. There's another skill that I forgot, but basically autonomy is a big one. They want to feel like they have autonomy, and they want to feel like they are gaining mastery in this specific skill, because that's when they are like, okay, I think Timothy Chalamet has this very interesting poetic line where I forgot that I want to be the captain of the sail or something like that. But it's basically that I want to feel like I'm choosing my adventure, and I am able to do what I want to do. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
And be creative. Yes.
Yeah. Very cool, man. Yeah. But yeah, those are all my thoughts here. It was just, I think, interesting because I wouldn't have predicted this, but. Yeah.
It also reminds me this interesting idea that I started loving teaching. I learned French in the last 1 year, and again, the best way to learn is to teach. So I was teaching this one friend French, and there's this very interesting idea that somebody said this quote, I forgot who, but very beautiful quote, which is, a friend is someone, and it applies to teacher as well, but a friend is someone who with the half can see the whole.
Okay.
With the person that you are today, who is starting to learn French, I can see the whole of what you are capable of. I can see the potential in you. So because who is a teacher? Teacher is just someone who knows a little bit more than you, who is a couple steps ahead of you, right? So when you are like, okay, you know a little bit more French than me, that teacher knows this entire gap. They see you as a whole person. They don't see that gap.
Right.
They're like, you are already capable of that.
Right.
Let me just make you whole.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this code probably applies to teachers even more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So the best teacher are like, they don't see the half. They already see you with their entire potential.
Yeah.
And again, for the teacher, they can only see the potential of what they are capable of.
Right.
Someone who is even more capable than them can see even more potential in you.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, it is as much about like who you are when you're teaching, as it is about who you are teaching.
Exactly. How much have you worked on
Yeah.
expanding your reality,
Yeah.
your mind?
How much can you see? How far
Exactly.
can you see? I mean, the other thing I was thinking about when you said that Jensen Huang describes himself as a teacher is I describe myself as a learner. And I wonder how much, like when people ask me what do you do, right? Like or what's your main thing? I said I learn. Like what I do is I learn. And so I wonder how much those things intersect. Like I wonder to what extent is being a teacher and being a learner the same thing?
Very interesting. Being a teacher and being a learner is the same thing. I think it would be, it's like describing yourself a learner could quickly, if you optimize for that, you can quickly get into this phase of tutorial hell, as we like to call them, which
like
is
without action.
Without action.
Yeah.
Where you're constantly learning without actually putting something out there.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And you want to be into a loop. You want to be create, build, or whatever. Learn, create. Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. This is very interesting. What's the first line? I love how it's interesting, like how sometimes academic papers would like to describe a very simple thing in very academic fashion. So that's what you are always fascinated by. That okay, how does a large unconditional increase in salary affect employee performance in the public sector? We present the first experimental evidence on this question in the context of a unique policy change in Indonesia that led to a permanent doubling of base teacher salaries. Very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this on. It's also interesting, like sometimes everybody comes from a different perspective and everybody's Twitter feed looks different.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting when I'm able to bring someone over here and they bring their flavor into the conversation.
Yeah.
All right, what do I have next? Okay, this is interesting. So, what is this company called? This company is called Wordware. I'm not sure if this is the company, but basically, this idea is all about how do you now sell employees? How do you get employees to buy into your vision? Where salaries have inflated, 200K salary in SF has become the standard.
Yeah.
Fancy offices and all this fancy food has become a standard.
Yeah.
How do you sell? How do you sell on the mission? Is mission a bigger thing? So Elon is just selling on this idea that hey,
doing the most important
exactly
work.
exactly. So I was listening to Palmer Lucky's podcast recently, and Palmer Lucky and the interviewer is like, how do you convince these people working in big tech to work at one of your companies, Anduril or all that stuff? And they're like, what are you working on right now is irrelevant. You're wasting your time. Don't waste your time. Come work for me, or come work on this
important
to make
problem. Human beings interplanetary.
Exactly. Come work on a problem that actually matters.
Yeah.
And this is one of them where how they are actually selling people is 18 people, SF, 996, mostly immigrants, private chef, kite surfing, football in an abandoned Mid-Journey office next door. This is how a week at Sauna looks like. Oh yeah, right. The company's called Sauna. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And now he's describing the entire lifestyle. So now this company
Yeah.
is selling on the lifestyle. And Sauna, what does Sauna do?
Yet another AI assistant. Yeah.
All right. Okay, beauty. Exhale. Your work just worked itself out. And I think that's it.
That's all.
Less busy work and a little animation over here, which is good. Okay. Less busy work, more of whatever you would rather be doing. So we still don't know what Sauna exactly does, because it seems like why would I not just use, I'm already using Claude Code to do that. Very interesting. But yeah, your thoughts on how do we
I can get there. Just one side thought I have is that it just seems like in SF you could just raise by saying you're building an AI.
Yes.
I feel like I'm not sure. I'm sure maybe Sauna does something incredible, but it's like if you just say you're working in AI, you could, it seems like you could just raise. But yeah, I think I would focus on one of two things, and potentially both things. I think, again, as you said, inflated salaries and like a bunch of perks are kind of given, like good offices, free food or whatever. First thing is, if you have one of those companies, like if you're working in aerospace or, I mean, it's hard for you to be passionate about an AI agent. There's like 1,000 AI agents, right? Like I can't convince you that you're working on something incredible, world-changing. That's not going to work. Unless I'm like OpenAI or Anthropic, maybe. Or if I'm like SpaceX, I can make that argument.
Right.
But like if I'm just another AI company, that argument doesn't really work.
Right.
So for some companies, maybe, but not really.
Yeah.
The second thing I would actually focus on is what we just discussed about earlier, is the idea of community. So I would actually focus on that you're going to find incredible people here. And these are people that you will like make friends with, and like this still, you will love the people here. You will love hanging out with them. You love working with them. You love hanging out with them. You will love being friends with them, and you will feel like you have a family here. That's what I would focus on. I would say, because increasingly people are lonely.
Yes.
And so I would, one of the things that would be important for me is to have a team that is of course good at their job, but also just great people. And kind and compassionate, and also fun to be around. And those attract other kind, compassionate, fun to be around people. So what I would sell is great community, by the way.
Very interesting. Yeah. The more commodity, it seems like what you started with, which is like you are just building yet another AI agent and people are able to raise money on that. So it's like the more commodity your product is, the more you have to sell on the perks.
Other things, yes.
On the perks that, you have a ping pong table.
Yeah.
You can kite surf.
Yeah.
Our office is right beside the beach.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can play football.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to balance it some way, or you can just be like, I'm going to pay you so much.
Yeah.
Or that's another argument. Like, bro, I'm just going to pay you so much that you wouldn't care about anything else.
Right.
But I actually think it's a better idea to pay less and have like other perks, because it's always a better idea to make somebody feel like human beings have certain needs, right? Like the need to feel a sense of community, the need for wonder, the need for recognition. So the less of those you provide, you have to compensate by giving money, so that then money compensates for those other things. That okay, I don't get any of these things at my office, or with this money I can buy a Rolex and then I get recognition. With this money I can afford to go on expensive dates and I feel companionship, right? So the less of those things you provide, the more the employees seek them out elsewhere. But that creates a significant like hard line around their work and life, which is okay from the employee's perspective, but it is not great from the company's perspective, because like then you'll lose out to the next person who pays them more. Like they really don't care about you. Like if there's a very hard line there, the employee would also just try to like, you know, I'm done, my shift is done, I'm out. Again, probably works for the employee, but if you could create the place, as you said, Naval Ravikant puts it, where play and work becomes the same thing, then it's not really a transactional relationship. One interesting example of is of this guy, CEO of this software company, who reduced his own pay, who became the least paid person in his company and increased everybody else's salaries, and then that company is a big success story. During COVID times, when everybody was getting laid off and he didn't have money to pay his employees stuck around. Every single one of them stuck around. Nobody left, even when they were not receiving salaries, because they just had loyalty. And by the end, when he made money again, he paid them all back. His employees bought him a Tesla.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I remember that name. I believe it was one of the one-click checkout companies.
Could be. I don't remember exactly what the company did, but I just thought it was I don't think that works all the time. I think it was definitely an exception, but it's just an interesting culture of like, I think the less transactional, at least from the perspective of the company, the less transactional you can make a relationship, the better it is. That's what I believe.
And it's very interesting where you would decide to do that, which means like you have kind of hired good people, because if in a very, let's say, uncertain situation like COVID, like the pandemic, where the money isn't coming in, the revenue isn't the same, you, instead of choosing to lay off people, if you're choosing to convince them that, hey, stay and let's figure out this situation where I will pay you less right now, but I will pay you when the money starts rolling in, we'll increase the salary. If you are doing that, that means that you have hired the right people. Because if you don't want them to let you had a lot of fat, then you will focus on cutting the fat.
Sure.
But if you believe that everybody here you have a small team and this core team is focused on the right things, then and they believe in you and you believe in them, then you're like, okay, let's figure out something. We don't have to follow the rules, which is like, oh, bring an outside person, cut the fat, and
No, and there's also value in retention. Like even if you hired not the smartest person, let's say you hired like the second tier engineer or whatever, if this guy has stayed at your company for 5 years, every year his value has increased because he now knows more about the company, more about the customers, more about the culture, more about the competition. So maybe a second tier engineer who has already worked for 5 years at your company is better than a first year engineer who has worked for 5 years but at some other company. Maybe it makes more sense for you to retain that guy.
Yes.
And if you have a good culture, he'll stick around.
Yes. Context has become so important. Like,
yes, exactly.
Relationships, context.
Yeah.
And we were talking about someone over here, that the fact that we are based over here in a country where if anyone who has strong relationships with the locals over here, they can just move way faster.
Absolutely.
So it's such an important skill now.
Yeah, I mean, like just a small side story is that almost all of the staff at this hotel are Bangladeshi, and I'm Bengali, and I talk to them all the time in Bangla. And what I have noticed is that they all smile at me. They are all always happy to see me. It's a much more close relationship than if you're just a guest and they're just a staff. Like if people are passing by, they will say good morning to everybody. When they say good morning to me, there's a smile on their face. Really, and you can see that the smile is like natural and warm.
Really cool.
And it's because I would talk to them and I would ask them about their day and how it's going, and it's just those simple things, right?
Really cool, really cool. I'm really happy that a couple of people actually speak Hindi as well, so I was able to talk to someone in Hindi.
Yeah.
So
they all speak Hindi. I just think it's just like slightly worse than their Bangla, but yeah.
Yes. totally. Makes sense. Okay, let's look at the next one. So this one is again talking about MTS. Okay, let's see. A16Z just funded 24/7 live show. What's happening right now?
Yeah.
Live production and streaming is becoming business infra, not content.
Yeah.
Interviewing the main... Okay, this is something interesting. But interviewing the main characters of the moment all day long on X has implications for other show creators. MTS could lock up the guest supply when they are most relevant. This is so interesting to think about.
Sure, yeah.
Why would the main character on X go on some random show when
Yeah.
they could go on the A16Z show backed by Dan, Paki, Austin, Balaji? MTS has A16Z money, a deep roster of hosts, booking power, production budget, and distribution advantages that indie shows can match head on. This makes it much more competitive for other shows to get high quality guests while they have high attention, relevance, and therefore makes it more difficult for the shows to grow. Here's how shows need to respond. Go niche, not broad. Build relationships before you need them. Shift from breaking news to making sense. Make your host the product. Their ability to relate is crucial. Launch now, not later. Also notice they built a Discord server.
Right.
Community is a moat. DM me ASAP. I've been doing this 30 years for largest creators and brands. Wow. Okay, they launched a Discord server. Very interesting.
Makes sense as the next move. Like makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't they? But yeah, I mean, in general, apart from the take of like locking up guests, which like it makes sense.
It's such a interesting business way to think about it. You are
Yeah.
locking up the guest supply.
Yeah, you're right. But I guess like, how many guests could they lock up? Like if
I actually don't think that matters. It just sounds fancy, but that doesn't matter. Like when
Yeah,
Balaji
yeah.
has, like if you're thinking about people who are highly relevant and who have a mission, Balaji is going to go on 2 to 3 podcasts every month to talk about the same thing, because
Yeah.
when you have a bigger vision,
Yeah.
what you are doing is you're repeating the same things again and
Yeah.
again, and you just want as many diverse people to talk to and as many diverse distribution channels so that you can reach everybody. So it's not that Balaji is gonna come to their show to break a news. He doesn't have a way. He can just break news on Twitter. Why would he break news on the? Yeah, he can do that, but still, other platforms, other podcasts will have different niche audiences
Yeah.
that he would want to speak to.
Yeah.
So I actually don't think that works.
Yeah, I think you're right. And A, the guests would want to repeat themselves, and B, there are so many experts on every field. Like if you get Balaji, they get Naval. Or, like it's like how many guests, like would you have a panel of the top 10 people in the world speaking at the same time? Probably not. Maybe you'd have one of them, the other 9 are still free, right? But yeah, apart from that, as you already talked about, the distribution is the game here. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of like new things that this person really talked about, I guess. But
Yeah.
maybe, I mean, I haven't worked for 13 years, so maybe she has some insight.
And she has featured Ninja's book as best person to learn from.
Okay.
She could be totally right.
She could
We
be
don't
right.
know.
Okay,
We don't know.
Of course.
But
Yeah. I do have to, unfortunately,
okay,
cut this now, but
that makes sense. Okay, thank you so much for joining.
thank you, brother. Appreciate this.